Hey everybody, David from Pro Flippers here. Today I want to talk about, can eBay be a career? Can it be your sole means of income? Can it support you yourself, or can it even support a family? That's what we're going to talk about today. All right, can eBay give you a career? Can it support you? Can it be your only means of income? Can you do this as a full-time living? Is it going to be a viable career for now and for the future? These are questions I want to talk about today. So the question of whether it can be is in short, yes, it can. It has been supporting me and my family for a couple years now. So 3 years ago, I quit my full-time bank management job to resell on eBay full-time. And I've been doing it full-time ever since. My wife at the time had a full-time job too, so really it was only halfway supporting our family when I first quit. But about a year and a half ago, Melissa, my wife, decided to join me, and now we are both doing it full-time. So yes, eBay is now fully supporting ourselves, our families, and it's not always easy. It is a lot of work, but I'm going to go ahead and show you kind of our numbers on the spreadsheet, so you can kind of understand where I started, where we've been past few years, and where we're at right now. And then after, I'll kind of talk about what I think about going forward and just some different aspects of being a full-time seller. Okay, so here I'm just going to kind of walk you through. I have this spreadsheet that I've been tracking since 2016. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm on my 7th year of tracking my numbers in my spreadsheet that I created. I just want to kind of show you where I started and how I became a full-time seller. So back in 2016, I kind of got back into eBay again. I hadn't been doing it in maybe 3 or 4 years. I've always kind of done it part-time. Just kind of for fun or for extra money since about 98 or 99. Can't remember exactly what year I started. But anyway, back in 2016, I got back into it just to start making some extra money. I was a single dad at the time after being divorced a couple years before that. And so I was just doing it to kind of make ends meet, to make a house payment, to support myself and my kids that I had, my 2 kids that I had half the time. So that's kind of my reasoning for getting back into it, was just for extra income to make on the side. So as you can see, that first year I was pretty small. I got up to making about a couple thousand a month. And next year I did the same thing, but I kind of grew it a little bit, and kind of by the end of the year got to about 4,000 a month. The next year, 2018, this is the year that I decided I really wanted to see what I could do with it. So you can see the first half of the year I still wasn't making very much, maybe on average 3,000 or 4,000 a month. But in May, June is when I really made the decision to really see what I could do. I really enjoyed reselling, and I was kind of getting motivated to pay off debt. I had student loans and a truck payment and stuff like that. Kind of getting motivated to pay that off, and so I decided to see what I could do. So I really started to increase my listings as fast as I could, and I increased them. And I'll show you in a second kind of where my listings are at, what we've done over the past year to increase our listings. But that was my motivation for this year. I wasn't really thinking quitting my job or anything at this point in the middle of the year. I was just thinking, let's really see what this can do, and let's kind of snowball paying off my debt. And that was what I was working on. So when we got to the point where we were here in about July, I had really started to increase my listings, and I was starting to make like a $2,000 a month payment on my student loans. And so when I got to about October, no, that's not even right. When I got to July and August, I did start thinking about, could I do this full time? I had been watching some other resellers on YouTube and stuff, and I realized that I was already kind of making more than a couple of them that were full time. And so it just started coming through my mind, and so I just kind of kept going with it to see where I could get. And I would say here in September, I talked to my wife and said, hey, I kind of ran it by her to say I would really like to do this full time, and my wife's always been super supportive of me, even when I'm spending all this extra time outside of work on eBay. She's always been really supportive of me and never complained about it. And she said, what she said was, you may have heard this before if you've been following me for a while, but she said that once you pay off your student loans, let's talk about it again. And so the next month I had my student loans paid off. And so it was in August that I first talked to her. And in September I had my student loans paid off. And she said, okay, let's finish up the year. Let's have you finish up the year at work, um, and then you can quit. And so that's what we did in the middle of September. Made the decision that that's what the plan was, and so I kept trying to grow my listings and kept trying to make more and more income. Got it up to about $10,000 a month, which is about $5,000 a month in income, which is equivalent to about a $60,000 a year job. And keep in mind, I was still working at the bank full time. So, and it was fourth quarter, so that, of course that's going to be a little bit higher than normal throughout the year, but. Middle of November, I believe it was the 19th of November, I decided I was going to give my work plenty of notice. They had been good to me. I wanted to give them a good amount of notice. I gave them 5 weeks notice that basically at Christmas time, at Christmas I was going to be done working. So I gave them 5 weeks notice. I told them at the end of the day, I think it was a Thursday, I told my boss. The next day I came in, and about an hour after I'd been there, my boss came up to me and said he had talked about it with the other senior management, and they would like for that day to be my last day. So that was my last day, and which was fine. It was a little shocking. I wasn't quite prepared, but I was fine. I ended up only staying half the day because I didn't really see any point in staying after that. And I went straight to the thrift store and went to do some thrifting. So that's when I started full time. It was November of 2018. And so here you can see my first year of full time was 2019, and I did 115,000 in sales. So that was not quite, but pretty close to replacing my income at work, but not when you consider my extra benefits of vacation and 401k contributions and stuff like that. So it had replaced just my base salary pretty much. And that's kind of where I was at. I struggled a little bit at first to grow on my own just because I had a lot of free time and nobody looking over me. But that's how it was. And so 2020, we all know what happened in 2020 was COVID, right? So if you can see here when COVID hit and all the shutdowns started was in like at the end of March, April, and May. I just had huge months here, and something else happened here is that my wife decided to quit working during that time for temporarily, and she came home and helped me with the business, and that's another reason why these numbers are so high here. And so right around June or so, she went back to work, and you can see my numbers drop back down to a lower amount because she wasn't helping me. My listings kind of dropped by a few hundred then. But what happened was she quickly realized she really enjoyed being at home and working from home. So in August, she made the decision that she wanted to quit her job also and join me full time. And so she gave her job a month's notice. And in September, you can see here in green, she joined me full time. So you can see what happened after that. So our sales immediately jumped, but that was more to do with fourth quarter. And like I said, I'm going to show you where our listings were at in a second. But so our sales jumped up for fourth quarter, and then you can see normal for last year. They kind of dipped back down for the slower part of the year, and then back up the end of part of the year. We were about 20,000 a month. And here's our sales for 2021. So effectively, our first full-time year together is 208 compared to my first full-time year by myself, 115. So getting close to doubling it. So that's pretty good. And then here you can see our sales for the first few months of the year. So April's not done, so you can ignore that, I guess. But I would say sales are slowing down. And I say that because you can see here that my sales are actually higher than the year before, but not by the amount once I show you my listings that you would expect. So anyway, so that's it. So this is where our sales are. And keep in mind that our profit, our net income is actually about half that. I would say probably closer to like 45% or so. So we were right about $100,000 in income for 2021. And I'm hoping to be higher this year. We should be. I mean, we're a little bit higher each month. This month is going to be barely better than April of last year, which is kind of sad. So let me show you our listings that where we've been at. So over here, you can see 2021, we started out with about 1,500 listings. We were pretty stagnant for the first few months, and then we really kind of kicked in gear and started growing. So you can see we grew by like 70 there, 170 there, 130 there, 110, 130. These are our total listings at the beginning of each month. So by the end of the year, we are at 2658. Come over here to this year, we are up to 2,800 at the start of April, and we are now over 2,900. So I'm hoping that by the start of May, we'll be at 2,900, or at 3,000 actually. We're at 2,950 right now, and we've got about 4 days to go. So we'll see if by the end of this week we could be at 3,000 listings. And so you can see our sell-through rate over here, which is basically saying how many items we sold for that month compared to how many listings we had available. So it's been steadily dropping. And, there's probably a few reasons for that maybe I'll get into in another video. But anyway, these are the numbers I wanted to show you, basically, so you could see where we're at as far as our income wise, and whether or not we believe this is a viable career. All right, so those are the numbers. Let's kind of maybe give you a better idea of where I was at when I quit my job, where we were at when my wife quit her job, and as far as like what actual kind of income we are making. And keep in mind that we live here in Idaho, so things are cheaper than other parts of the country, although they are getting quite a bit more expensive. The real estate prices have gone up quite a bit. I'd say about 30% each year for the last couple of years or so. So it is getting more expensive here, but we are not in California where you get an apartment for $2,000 or whatever. We have a large house, a 4,500 square foot house with a 1,200 square foot basement that we use just for eBay, and it costs us just under $2,000 a month for a payment on that. But anyway, so our income together is around $100,000 a year. We plan to keep growing that over the next few years as much as we can, although it's going to be slow growth. We're not trying to be in any kind of hurry. So the question of whether or not this can be a career or a full-time income or something that supports you, yourself, or your family, I think the answer is yes. What does it take? It's going to take some time. You want to build up to it slowly. You want to make sure that you're ready. I wouldn't recommend just quitting your job and go and buying your first few items. It's not gonna work, probably because you have to be able to take money from the business. We take money from the business to pay all our bills. We do that every month, and we still have enough that we can pretty much source as much as we want. We probably spend about, I would say, 3,000. I should say I spend. Melissa doesn't do any shopping. I do all the shopping or the sourcing. So I spend about 3,000 a month or so. Last year I did a lot of auctions and not so much thrifting, and this year I'm just planning on doing both. So I've been going to thrift stores pretty much 4 or 5 days a week, and for a few hours to the three or so thrift stores that are here in town. And between that and the auctions, I think we have plenty of stuff to grow our listings, well past 3,000 listings. So what does it take as far as like day to day? It just takes really getting those listings up. So of course you're just going to be a learning curve for picking up things. You're going to learn. Hopefully you're going to get sourcing. You're going to source better over time. Find better items. You want to buy stuff that's in demand. You don't want to just buy like lower price items that you could buy at the store for low prices. I tend to look for items and brands that were fairly expensive or more expensive than just going to Target or something like that, so that there's some room between what the original price was and what I'm selling it for, and what I'm getting it for, so that you can make some kind of a profit in between. I typically want to make about $10 per item profit. That's kind of a goal, but of course I want to make more. Some items I might make less if they're smaller, easy to ship, easy to list, and maybe if I get multiple quantities or whatever. But it basically comes down to just putting in the work. It's not for the faint of heart. Honestly, I still struggle with slow times. It's a slow time right now. I don't really understand what's going on. I know there's a number of things that could be in play, and one could be my quality of items I picked up in the last year at the auctions aren't as good as maybe I was getting at thrift stores. Two, everything's getting more expensive, so maybe people are spending less money. Three, last year there was stimulus money coming in. This year there's not. So there's just a number of things that is in my mind is saying that sales are going to be slower this year than compared to last year. Even though we're making a little more money this year than last year, in relation to the amount of more listings we have, where our listings are up like 70%, but our sales are only up like maybe 20%. So anyway, and also we have some other things going on this year. Melissa has kind of taken over a friend's business where she's making minky blankets. And so that's taken some time away, but we also have started to having somebody come help us take pictures for just a couple hours a day, a few times a week. That's kind of helped us keep our numbers up while Melissa's been spending time making some blankets or whatever. But and Melissa still helps me with the business quite a bit. So anyway, that's it. If you guys have any questions or comments about whether or not this could be a viable career for you, just leave them in the comments. I always answer everybody's questions. I read all the comments. But basically it is, as far as the future goes, I think it's always going to be viable as far as a full-time career. Maybe at some point we'll want to, like, eBay won't be quite enough to just be a full-time thing, and we'll have to do some side stuff. We do a tiny bit of Amazon, Poshmark, and local sales, but not very much. YouTube doesn't really, as little as I do it, there's not really income there either. So I don't know. We'll see. I really enjoy it. It's a great lifestyle. The flexibility is better than nothing else. Like, I can work whenever I want, in the middle of the night or in the middle of the day. I can go play tennis, whatever I want to do. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hopefully this clears some things up. If you have any questions, let me know. Thanks. Bye.